Over the years, I have figured out that the best way to keep your food budget as low as possible is to minimize the ingredients in every single meal that you make for your family and keep your recipes super simple and easy to follow. That's what we're going to talk about today. I have some really delicious recipes to share with you, all containing 5 ingredients or less. I do have to admit that there's a little bit of an adjustment that needs to be made to the last recipe, so be sure you watch to the end to see a little bit of a cooking fail and how I would improve it the next time. If you're new here, I'm Lori. Welcome to Homemade Simple. If you haven't subscribed, I hope that you will do that. Don't forget to hit the like button, and let's get started with these easy recipes.
Like I said a minute ago, we want to focus on just a few ingredients to carry us through each recipe so that we can make the most of our budget each week without having really complicated and difficult to follow recipes. So you'll see that all of these recipes are going to include potatoes. Potatoes are a healthy ingredient, although they've been given a little bit of a bad rap. They are really healthy and full of nutrition if used in the right and proper ways. I'll also note at the beginning, I'm not going to include pantry items like the ghee that I used to cook these onions in. Didn't really want to count them against my 5 ingredients. So just use whatever kind of cooking oil or butter that you have. I'm going to cook some onions, probably about 2 onions total. I had these in the freezer, but fresh will do just fine. Caramelize the onions and then thinly slice some potatoes, put them in with the onions and cook them until soft. While the potatoes are softening, I'm going to scramble up about a dozen eggs. I have so many eggs. I'm so glad that the chickens decided to finally start laying again. So you probably are going to see quite a few egg recipes in the near future. I have an entire huge basket full, probably 5 dozen eggs. We eat eggs and I can't keep up with all of them that are being produced. So I've got a lot of eggs to go through. I'm just going to pour the eggs into the skillet, top it with about a cup or so of shredded cheese, bake it in a 350-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, just until the eggs are set. This recipe was such a game changer. It was delicious. It was super easy and simple. It's almost zero cleanup, and everybody in my family loved this meal. These are the kinds of recipes that I really love because of how easy they are, how quickly they come together, and how combining simple, regular ingredients can make such a delicious meal. I hope that you'll give this one a try. I'm pretty sure your family will love it. I know it's been pretty well documented how much I love fall foods, and one of the top favorite fall foods of mine is potato soup. It does not get any more comforting and delicious than a simple pot of potato soup. And what I love about this recipe is how I was forced to really simplify the ingredients list to keep it within the 5 ingredient parameters, and I don't think it lost anything. This was a super easy and simple recipe to put together, but it was so full of flavor and delicious. It was absolutely one of my favorites. All I did was brown up some breakfast sausage, add about 4 cups of chicken stock and about the same amount of water. I put in a good bit of potatoes, probably about 10 or so. I wanted to make sure and allow the potatoes plenty of time to cook in the chicken broth to absorb all of that delicious flavor. So I left it simmering on the stove for about 30 minutes or so until the potatoes were nice and soft. At the end of that 30 minutes, I added about a cup or so of heavy cream. You can also use half and half, or even whole milk will do just fine. And then just give everything a good stir and combine it all together, and it's ready to serve. I served mine with a little bit of sour cream and shredded cheese. You can choose your toppings, maybe add some green onions or even some bacon crumbles would be delicious on this as well. But this one definitely wins the prize for ease and simplicity. Next up, let's talk about the easiest vegetable beef soup ever. And one of the reasons why it was so easy is because I didn't have to make it. You can tell that this is not me because of the pretty pink fingernails. Kelsey was willing to make dinner for us while I was outside helping Chris with an outside chore. She did a really good job, and This was a delicious dinner, and I really appreciate having help in the kitchen. That's one of the good things about your kids growing up and getting older. They're more able to help in the kitchen. Kelsey really knows her way around the kitchen and does a really good job, and this soup was no exception. While 1 pound of hamburger meat was browning, she diced up about 4 large carrots and 6 medium-sized potatoes. She seasoned the meat with about 2 teaspoons of salt, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and about 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. To the seasoned meat, she poured in a large can of diced tomatoes, 1 can of green beans, along with all of the liquid. She added in the diced carrots and potatoes, and then she added about 2 cups of water. Just make sure that all of your ingredients are covered with the liquid, and this soup will turn out perfect. The great thing about this recipe is how easy it is to put together and how versatile all of the ingredients are. If you want to add a different variety of vegetables to this soup, it will still turn out perfect. And you can either cook it on the stovetop like we did, or put it in your crock pot or instant pot. Any one of those methods will create a delicious end result. And there's nothing better than coming in from a busy day outside to a delicious bowl of vegetable beef soup. Okay, now we get to talk about a little bit of a mishap in the kitchen. So this recipe was one that I sort of just came up with because I had a pack of meat that we have found on markdown at Target. I don't usually get this kind of meat, and so when I had diced pork loin, I didn't really know what to do with it, so I sort of looked up a couple of ideas and thought, okay, I have all of these ingredients. This sounds very fall. I'm going to be able to make a perfect meal with this pork and some potatoes, some apples. I'll use some more of those carrots that I had, and then that's where I came into a little bit of an issue. So I browned up my pork, and that went fine. I diced up my potatoes and my apples and my carrots. All of that was good. And then I needed some chicken stock or vegetable broth, and the only chicken stock that I had was in the refrigerator, and I think it had just been in there a little too long. It didn't smell ruined, but it didn't smell good either, so I decided I needed to try something else. Well, my next go-to would have been apple juice, but I didn't have any of that either. The closest I had was apple cider vinegar. And your jaw just probably dropped because you're thinking, I cannot believe you added apple cider vinegar to this recipe. Well, I did, and I instantly regretted it the first bite I took. So do not add apple cider vinegar to this recipe. But it was still edible, even though it was a little sour. It was still good after I got over that initial too sour flavor. So I know that if you put either apple cider itself or apple juice in this recipe instead of the apple cider vinegar and water, this recipe will turn out delicious. Apples, pork, potatoes, carrots, that sounds like the perfect fall meal, and that's really what I was going for. I did make a little bit of a mistake with the liquid that I put in, but if you use apple juice or apple cider instead of vinegar, it will turn out delicious. I just know it. I'm going to give it another try, and I'm going to try it with apple juice next time. I think it will be absolutely delicious. And sorry for the mix-up, but I will make sure and change it in the description. I will leave this new revised recipe as well as all the other recipes for today's video down in the description box.
Well, I guess every meal can't be perfect, and every recipe will not turn out. So make sure that you use those adjustments that I recommended so that that meal will be a sure hit with your family. Thanks for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you have any suggestions or recommendations for future video ideas, I hope that you will leave those down in the comments. I hope you have a wonderful week. I love you, and I will see you again next time. Is to minimize the ingredient. Hey.
What did you do?
You told me to say, I love you. I'll see you next time.
I love you, and I'll see you next time.